Alright, so we're going to do the rat dissection. This is going to be sped up, but I'm going to walk you through some of the main parts. Alright, essentially, if you're trying to figure out how to do this, you need to cut a line straight up and a line across. The idea is we want to be able to look at all the organs so you can flap it open like this. So, you make your little windows, you pin your stuff down. If this is a fresh rat, you may have to rinse this dude out. But, there you go, you can see all the organs. Keep cutting up through the ribs. We can separate and open up the chest cavity. You can see the ribs on the inside a little bit, and we'll pin these down just like we did our window for the lower abdominal cavity. Alright, so if we look kind of up to the top, you got the mouth, and you got all the tubing that comes down. The mouth has the opening that leads to the trachea, comes down to the lungs right here, on both sides of the heart. Esophagus is right next to the trachea, and we'll go all the way down. So this little bean is the heart. It is going to be the same as a human heart for the most part. It's got ventricles, atria. You can actually cut it open and see very, very similar structures. So below these, you got the diaphragm. It's kind of like a little beef jerky flap thing. It's actually going to contract and help you breathe, draw air in, expel air out. All that fun stuff. It's just like any muscle. It can cramp. It's the same muscle that gives you a stitch when you run. Below that, this big clump right here is the liver. You can actually remove the liver, and we'll do that in the video. You cut around, get the aorta cut, pull the whole liver out, because our goal is to see almost all the parts. So the liver is going to obstruct a lot of stuff. Next, we go into digestive system. We can actually remove this whole bundle by cutting around it. So we remove that to the side. We just remove the stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. The two little beans on the back are actually the kidneys. In these rats, they inject red and blue dye and flush out all the real blood so you can actually see stuff better. They're basically built for dissection. So we are actually going to separate out the digestive tract by breaking up the red lines, the arteries, and the connective tissue, basically the mesentery. It's a little bit tedious, but it'll kind of get faster and faster as you go. You're basically trying to separate it out very delicately so that the small intestine doesn't get damaged, because the whole point is that we're going to be able to actually measure the small intestine and the large intestine of our rat. Keep kind of separating real carefully. You'll actually notice when it becomes the large intestine because it'll change shape and it'll change size, but it's very easy to just tear this thing and break it. So you got to be real careful as you separate it out. You want to make sure that you don't accidentally, basically, like I said, just rip open the intestines. So set those aside after you get that done. This is a male. You got the testes down there. You can actually create a third flap for the reproductive and excretory systems. So if you flap this thing open, focus a little bit. Testes, scrotum, testicles, all up in here. Since this is a male, you're going to have the male parts. You're still going to have the bladder and urethra, just like any rat. You're not going to have any ovaries. You're not going to have any of the female parts like the uterus. So we'll just assume that in a female rat, they would be right in this general area. They'd look almost like the letter Y. You'll notice there's a little red cut almost on the tail. That's where they injected those dyes. So starting at the top, come down to the mouth, chest cavity, lungs, heart, diaphragm, liver, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, anus. That's pretty much all that we dissect and label when we're just doing a basic rat for biology. So you can stick this back in here. You essentially need to just know that this doesn't just free float and flop around. But that's pretty much it. These are all tied in. These are all connected. Respiratory system is the trachea and the lungs. Digestive system, esophagus, stomach, small and large intestines. Circulatory system is going to be the heart, arteries, and veins. And you can kind of clean them up a little bit with the blunt side of your scissors or probe. Excretory system, kidneys, urethra, bladder, liquid waste, getting rid of it. Endocrine is the hormones, thymus, thalamus, testes, ovary. And then reproductive is testes, ovary, or at least the main ones we care about, testes in male, ovaries in female. And that about does it. So if you, for whatever reason, didn't have a dissection, or you were absent for the dissection I ran, or you just are curious how to cut open a rat and pull out the parts, well, there you go. Look at that, under 5 minutes.